Hey, so tonight we're going to talk about ancient Egypt, but not the Egypt you usually see in the movies. No golden sarcophagi, no grand pharaohs overseeing monumental pyramids here. Tonight we're diving deep into the real grit of life on the banks of the Nile, far from the royal courts. We're going to experience the daily struggle of the forgotten men who fed an empire, the fishermen. It was a life of back-breaking labor, constant danger and immense skill, all under the relentless sun. Before we plunge into that ancient world, take a moment to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment below telling me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. All right, find that cozy spot, pull your blanket up high, and let the modern world melt away. You stir long before the first hint of rose streaks across the eastern sky. The air, still holding the night's cool embrace, feels damp against your skin. Not unpleasantly so, but a stark contrast to the climate-controlled comfort you know. Your bed isn't a mattress of springs and memory foam, but a rough reed mat laid directly on the hard-packed earth of your small mud brick home. Every muscle in your body registers the day before, the strain of hauling nets, the persistent ache in your lower back from bending over a papyrus skiff, the chafing on your shoulders from carrying baskets of fish. There's no gentle alarm clock, no smartphone buzzing quietly beside your head. Instead, it's an internal clock, tuned to the rhythmic ebb and flow of the Nile and the silent, insistent call of an empty belly that needs filling. Your own and, more importantly, your family's. You push yourself up, the joints in your knees protesting with a soft crunch. The tiny room is still cloaked in shadows, a world of indistinct shapes. The smell of the river is already present, seeping in through the cracks in the wall. A mixture of damp earth, distant lotus blossoms, and the ever-present faint tang of fish, a smell that defines your existence. It's not a foul odor to you. It's the scent of life, of sustenance, of the river's promise. You move to the simple hearth, a small depression in the floor where a few embers from last night's fire still glow weakly. With practiced ease, you coax them back to life, adding a few dried reeds and bits of dung to create a small, flickering flame. The smoke, thin and acrid, stings your eyes momentarily, but you barely notice. This is your reality. There's no automatic coffee maker, no kettle whistling a cheerful tune. This fire is for warmth, for cooking the day's meager meal, and for light, a flickering beacon in the pre-dawn gloom. As the flame grows, you catch sight of your reflection in the polished surface of a water pot. A gaunt face, etched with the lines of hard labor and relentless sun. Your hands, already calloused and scarred, look like tools themselves, rough and unyielding. There's no mirror, no self-consciousness, just a quick acknowledgement of the man you are, the man you must be. Your clothes are simple, a rough linen kilt, worn thin in places but sturdy enough for the day's tasks. There's no choice of attire, no soft cotton, no synthetic fabrics designed for comfort or performance. This kilt is your uniform, your protection, your symbol of a life tethered to the river. Stepping out of your home, the village begins to slowly awaken around you. The first faint sounds reach your ears. The distant braying of a donkey, the soft rustle of palm fronds in a gentle breeze, the muted murmuring of other families stirring. The air is still cool, hinting at the scorching heat that will soon descend with the sun. You walk towards the riverbank, the sand and dust cool beneath your bare feet. There are no paved roads, no streetlights, no defined sidewalks. Your path is simply the most worn track, smoothed by countless footsteps over generations. Each step feels connected to the earth, to the rhythm of this ancient land. You pass other homes identical to yours in their humble construction, their entrances dark voids awaiting the sun. The air is heavy with the scent of damp reeds, drying mud, and the distinct aroma of fermenting grain from a nearby brewery, a comfortingly familiar smell that speaks of community and shared toil. You are not alone in this early awakening. Other fishermen, their forms shadowy and indistinct in the low light, are also making their way to the river. There are no greetings, no casual banter, simply a shared silent understanding of the task ahead. You are all bound by the same destiny, the same relentless pursuit of fish from the benevolent, yet demanding Nile. Reaching the riverbank, the vast expanse of the Nile reveals itself, a dark, gleaming ribbon under the fading stars. It feels immense, powerful, alive. The water laps softly against the reeds at the edge, a hypnotic, rhythmic sound that has been the soundtrack to your entire life. You hear the low, throaty grunts of hippopotamuses in the distance, a sound that always sends a shiver down your spine, a potent reminder of the river's wild dangers. And, closer, the faint splashes of fish breaking the surface, a sound that sparks a primitive hope in your chest. This is your world, raw and unfiltered. No noise-cancelling headphones to block out the sounds of nature. No artificial light to pierce the darkness. Just you, the river, and the profound, silent presence of an ancient world about to begin its daily struggle for existence. You draw a deep breath, the taste of the river air, heavy with moisture and life, filling your lungs. It's time. The sun will rise soon, and with it, the day's relentless work. There is no escape, only the river's embrace and the promise, however faint, of a catch. Before you can even think about casting a line or throwing a net, you must first possess the means. And in this ancient world, possessing means making. Your tools aren't bought from a store, mass-produced and ready to use. They are born of your hands, shaped by generations of inherited knowledge and imbued with the very essence of your struggle. This isn't just about craftsmanship, it's about survival. You head to the small, shaded area beside your hut, where your papyrus skiff lies upturned, drying in the sun. This isn't a sleek fiberglass boat with an outboard motor, not even a sturdy wooden vessel. It's a fragile, almost ephemeral craft, woven from bundles of papyrus reeds, lashed together with rope made from twisted flax. You run your hand over its rough surface, feeling the dried fibers, the slight give of the reeds. It needs constant maintenance. The sun and water are its enemies, slowly deteriorating the organic material. Every few days you inspect it for weak spots, for reeds that have come loose, for lashings that have frayed. Today, a critical lashing near the bow has come undone. A hole in the boat is not a minor inconvenience. It's a death sentence on the Nile. You retrieve a coil of flax rope, meticulously braided by your wife and daughters from the long, strong fibers of the flax plant. The process of making rope is itself an arduous task, requiring patience and strong fingers. They beat the flax stalks, rether them in water to separate the fibers, then twist and ply them into ropes of various thicknesses. You select a length of the finer rope, your fingers instinctively assessing its strength and flexibility. There's no measuring tape, no precision tools. It's all by feel, by eye, by the knowledge passed from your father and his father before him. You begin to relash the papyrus bundles, your fingers working swiftly, tying specific knots that have been perfected over millennia. The sun begins to climb, its early rays warm on your back as you lean over the skiff. Sweat beads on your brow, a constant companion. The air, though still relatively cool, holds the promise of oppressive heat. You wipe your forehead with the back of your hand, leaving a smear of dust and river grit. The papyrus itself is a gift from the Nile, harvested from its marshes. It's a labor-intensive process, wading into the boggy areas, cutting the tall stalks with a sharp flint knife, then carefully transporting them back to the village. The selection of reeds is crucial. They must be mature, strong, and free from disease. A single rotten reed can compromise the integrity of the entire skiff. You remember your first attempts at building a boat years ago when you were just a boy learning the trade. Your knots were clumsy, your bundling uneven, and your skiff took on water almost immediately. Your father, a man of few words but immense skill, had simply watched, then silently dismantled your work and shown you again, slower, firmer, with the patience of a true artisan. The memory brings a faint smile to your lips, a quiet acknowledgement of the endless cycle of learning and teaching, a tradition spanning generations. Once the skiff is patched, your attention turns to your nets. These are your most prized possessions, your livelihood. Made from spun flax fibers, they are intricate webs of knots and mesh designed to ensnare the river's bounty. You retrieve a net from where it hangs, carefully folded, on a peg inside your hut. As you unfurl it, the delicate structure shimmers in the growing light. But inevitably there are tears. A snag on a submerged branch, the thrashing of a particularly large fish, the relentless wear and tear of being repeatedly cast and hauled from the water. Each tear is a potential loss, a gaping hole through which fish can escape, directly impacting your family's next meal. You sit cross-legged on the ground, the net spread before you. Your fingers, calloused but nimble, retrieve a small bone needle and a spool of finely spun flax twine. Repairing a net is a meditative process, a test of patience and skill. You pick up a broken strand, examining the tear with the intense focus of a surgeon. The sun is higher now, casting sharp shadows. The air is growing warmer, already beginning to shimmer above the distant sand dunes. You feel the heat radiating from the earth, a steady, pervasive warmth that will soon turn to oppressive heat. You pull the twine through the eye of the needle, then begin to retie the broken mesh, knot by painstaking knot. Each knot must be uniform, strong, and invisible, blending seamlessly with the original weave. This isn't a quick patch. It's a meticulous restoration. Your fingers move with an almost hypnotic rhythm, looping, tightening, pulling. You can feel the texture of the flax against your skin, rough and familiar. The fine dust of the village, stirred by the morning breeze, settles on the net, on your hands, on your kilt. You wipe the sweat from your brow again, the dust clinging to your damp skin. There's no rush, no sense of modern urgency. Time here is measured by the sun, by the river, by the steady progress of your work. Hours can pass in this quiet endeavor, punctuated only by the distant calls of birds or the occasional cry of a child. Beyond the nets, you also check your other tools, the barbed spears, tipped with sharpened bone or flint, their wooden shafts smoothed from use. You feel the balance of each spear, its weight and trajectory, a familiar sensation in your hands. You sharpen the tips with a piece of sandstone, honing the edge until it's dangerously keen, capable of piercing tough scales. Your baskets, woven from reeds, also demand attention. They are the containers for your catch, and their integrity is paramount. A broken basket means lost fish, scattered on the riverbank, an unacceptable waste. You reinforce their edges, mend any breaks, ensuring they are sturdy enough to carry the weight of a good day's haul. This is the hidden labor, the work that comes before the work. It's the constant battle against decay and wear, the unending struggle to maintain the fragile infrastructure of your livelihood. There are no spare parts, no ready replacements. Every tool is precious, every repair a testament to your resourcefulness and skill. This morning, as the sun climbs higher, you are not just repairing a skiff or mending a net, you are reaffirming your commitment to survival. You are reinforcing the very fabric of your existence, one knot, one lash, one honed edge at a time. The world of abundant factory-made goods is an unimaginable luxury. Here, you are the maker, the repairer, the guardian of your family's daily bread, with nothing but your hands, your inherited wisdom, and the raw materials provided by the land. You finish the last knot, test its strength with a firm tug, and then, finally with a sigh, you stand, stretching your aching back. The sun is now a fiery disk in the sky, and the real work is about to begin. Your tools are ready. You are ready, with your skiff repaired and nets meticulously checked. You launch your simple craft into the cool, dark waters of the Nile. The papyrus feels buoyant beneath you, a delicate balance that takes years to master. There's no motor to start, no oars to row. You propel yourself with a long, slender pole, pushing off the riverbed in shallower areas, or allowing the gentle current to carry you in deeper stretches. The water, surprisingly cold against your bare feet, whispers around the bundles of papyrus, a soft, soothing sound that contrasts sharply with the silent, watchful focus you maintain. You are acutely aware of the river's every nuance, the slight swirling patterns on the surface that betray a hidden current, the subtle changes in the water's color that indicate varying depths or the presence of silt. This isn't just a river. It's a living entity, a complex system that you've come to know intimately, almost instinctively. You navigate by the sun, by the familiar landmarks of a distant palm grove, a distinctive bend in the river, or a cluster of reeds that signals a favorite fishing spot. There's no GPS, no sonar, no depth finder. Your map is etched into your memory, your compass an ancient understanding of the sun's trajectory and the river's flow. As you drift, your senses are on high alert. You scan the surface for ripples, for the flick of a fishtail, for the telltale sign of a school of fish feeding just below. The air is thick with the calls of waterbirds, herons, kingfishers, egrets, their cries echoing across the vast expanse of the river. You hear the rustle of papyrus reeds along the bank, the faint buzz of insects, the distant, rhythmic creak of a shadoof lifting water for irrigation. These are the sounds of your world, weaving a tapestry of life and labor around you. You don't just hear them, you interpret them, understanding their meaning, their place in the delicate ecosystem you inhabit. Your first approach is often with a simple line and hook, baiting it with a piece of dried meat or a small grub found along the riverbank. This is a game of patience, a quiet dialogue between you and the unseen world beneath the surface. You feel the subtle tension of the line in your calloused fingers, waiting for the slightest tug, the almost imperceptible tremor that signals a bite. Time slows down. The sun beats down relentlessly now, warming your skin, drawing beads of sweat that trickle down your temple. The air grows heavy, shimmering with heat. You feel the steady pressure of the sun on your head, the slight burn on your shoulders, already darkened and leathery from a lifetime spent exposed to the elements. But for a larger catch, it's the net. You guide your skiff to a promising spot, often a quieter eddy, or a stretch of water near a reed bed where fish are known to congregate. With a practiced heave, you cast your hand net, a circular web weighted around its edges, sending it spiraling out across the water. The sound of its splash is a familiar symphony, a brief interruption of the river's quiet hum. Then you wait. A deep primal patience descends upon you. You are a hunter, and the river is your hunting ground. You watch the net as it settles, its delicate fibers disappearing beneath the surface, a silent snare. Moments stretch into minutes, minutes into what feels like an eternity. Your eyes remain fixed on the spot where the net disappeared, willing it to hold, to gather the bounty. You feel the strain in your muscles, the subtle sway of the skiff, the constant warmth of the sun on your skin. There's no distraction, no entertainment, no casual conversation, just the focused intensity of the hunt. Finally, with slow, deliberate movements, you begin to pull the net in, hand over hand. The weight tells the story. A heavy pull brings a surge of hope, a light one, a familiar pang of disappointment. When the net breaks the surface, glistening with water, your eyes quickly assess the catch. Small, silver fish, their scales flashing in the sunlight, thrash wildly in the mesh. Perhaps a larger tilapia, its dark body a welcome sight. Sometimes, too often, the net is almost empty, a cruel reminder of the river's unpredictable nature. But today, there are enough. You untangle them carefully, your fingers adept at avoiding their sharp fins and scales, dropping them into a reed basket at your feet. The fish smell fresh and alive, a potent aroma of the river itself. The sound of their frantic flapping and gasping fills the air momentarily. A testament to the life you've just wrestled from the water. Sometimes, for bigger prey, you switch to the spear. This requires a different kind of stealth, a predatory stillness. You paddle silently along the reedy banks, your eyes piercing the murky depths, searching for the darker, more substantial shape of a larger fish. Crocodiles are a constant, terrifying threat here, their presence an ever-present silent danger. You scan the banks, the water, for their telltale eyes, their dark, submerged forms. The fear is real, primal. A crocodile attack is swift, brutal, and often fatal. Every splash, every ripple is viewed with suspicion. When you spot a fish large enough for the spear, your body tenses. You raise the long shaft, its barbed tip gleaming faintly. Your arm becomes an extension of the spear, your eye fixed on the target. You compensate for the refraction of the water, a skill learned through countless attempts and failures. Then, with a sudden, powerful thrust, you plunge the spear into the water. The force of the strike reverberates through your arm, a primal shock. Often the fish escapes, darting away with a powerful flick of its tail, leaving you with only the empty sting of disappointment. But sometimes you connect. The fish thrashes violently, its struggles echoing through the spear, through your arm, through your very being. You hoist it quickly, twisting it off the barb and drop it into the basket. The sheer power of the fish, even in its death throes, is a raw force. Hours pass in this manner, punctuated by the rhythmic movements of casting, pulling, waiting, striking. The sun climbs to its zenith, then begins its slow descent. The heat becomes oppressive, baking your skin, draining your energy. Your mouth feels dry, parched, despite the proximity of the river. There's no cool, filtered water bottle within reach, no refreshing drink. You might take a cautious sip directly from the river, carefully avoiding any stagnant areas, knowing the risks of disease. But the thirst is overwhelming. The small discomforts accumulate into a dull ache, the persistent hunger gnawing at your stomach, the sun-baked feeling of your scalp, the steady throb in your shoulders and arms. Your clothes are soaked with sweat, clinging uncomfortably to your skin, but you push through it, driven by the relentless need. Every fish in the basket is a victory, a small ward against the ever-present spectre of hunger. You don't think in terms of profit or career advancement. You think in terms of mouths fed, of another day survived. As the sun begins to dip towards the western desert, casting long golden shadows across the water, you begin to make your way back. The weight of the fish in your baskets feels both heavy and light. Heavy with the physical strain of the day, light with the knowledge that you have, for now, secured your family's survival. The sounds of the river begin to change, becoming softer, more subdued as the daylight fades. The calls of the birds become more mournful, preparing for the night. You look back at the vast, shimmering expanse of the Nile, a deep respect in your heart for its power, its dangers, and its enduring generosity. This river is your life, your provider, your master, and you, the ancient Egyptian fisherman, are its tireless, patient hunter. The sun, now a vast orange orb sinking towards the western desert, paints the sky in fiery hues of crimson and gold. You pole your skiff back towards the village, the low light making the familiar riverbank seem almost ethereal. The rhythmic splash of your pole, the gentle lap of water against the papyrus are the only sounds interrupting the evening's quiet descent. Your body, a symphony of aches and tired muscles, knows this journey well. The long hours under the relentless sun, the constant vigilance, the physical exertion of casting and hauling have taken their toll. Yet, there's a flicker of satisfaction, a small triumph in the weight of the reed baskets in your skiff. Today you haven't come back empty-handed. As you near the riverbank, the smells of the village greet you, the faint scent of cooking fires, the earthy aroma of drying mud, and the distant acrid tang of animal dung. But overriding all of these is the pervasive, unmistakable smell of the marketplace, which has begun to truly come alive as the day cools. You beach your skiff with a practiced movement, securing it to a sturdy papyrus stalk. The effort of standing and stretching brings a grunt of discomfort, but you quickly move to unload your catch. Each basket, woven from thick, sturdy reeds, feels heavier now than it did when you loaded the fish on the river. The small silver bodies, glistening faintly in the fading light, are piled high. Their faint, fishy smell, now mixed with the general dust and heat of the day, is a potent reminder of your labor. You carefully lift the baskets, settling their handles over your shoulders. The coarse reed presses into your skin, a familiar friction, and the weight immediately strains your weary back and neck. There's no modern ergonomic design, no wheeled cart, no comfortable straps, just raw weight, borne on raw strength. You join the trickle of other fishermen and farmers making their way to the village market. It's not a grand, bustling bazaar like those in the capital cities, but a modest, open space near the river where villagers exchange their goods. As you approach, the sounds intensify. The excited chatter of voices, the occasional bleating of a goat, the insistent braying of a donkey, the low murmur of negotiations. The air is thick with a cacophony of smells: sweet dates, pungent herbs, drying grains, the heavy odor of livestock, and of course, the ever-present scent of fresh and drying fish. Flies, drawn by the bounty, buzz lazily around the stalls, a nuisance you barely register anymore. You find your usual spot, a cleared patch of ground. There's no designated stall, no permanent shop. You simply lay out your reed mats, carefully arranging your fish upon them. The smaller fish are grouped together, their scales still shining. The larger tilapia, a prize catch, you display more prominently. There's an art to this presentation, a subtle salesmanship born of years of practice. You want your catch to look fresh, abundant, and desirable. Soon, potential buyers approach. These are your neighbors, your fellow villagers, farmers with their surplus grain, potters with their clay vessels, weavers with their linen cloth. There are no coins, no standardized currency for these daily transactions. Instead, it's a system of barter, a delicate dance of negotiation based on mutual need and the perceived value of goods. A farmer might offer you a basket of barley for a portion of your catch. A potter might want fish in exchange for a new water jar. How much for these? A woman asks, pointing to a pile of smaller fish. Her eyes, sharp and assessing, scrutinize your wares. You meet her gaze, already mentally calculating the worth of your fish against what she might offer. 2 measures of barley, you reply, your voice a little hoarse from disuse and the dry air. You know she'll counter. This is how it works. 1.5, she says, a slight shrug of her shoulders, as if your price is outlandish. They are small. You shake your head, a faint, weary smile playing on your lips. They are fresh, caught only this morning. Strong fish, full of meat. 2 measures, or a small loaf of fresh bread from your oven. You know, she bakes excellent bread. The negotiation continues, a quiet back and forth, a weighing of needs, and a subtle test of wills. It's not about greed, but about survival. You need the barley to feed your family, the bread to supplement your own meager provisions. She needs the protein from your fish for hers. Every item exchanged is a vital link in the chain of existence. There's no middleman, no automated checkout, no price tags. Just the raw human interaction of supply and demand played out against the backdrop of an ancient village. The exchange is often tactile. You might run your fingers through her offered barley, assessing its quality, checking for pests or debris. She might pick up one of your fish, smelling it, feeling its firmness. Trust is implicit yet constantly tested. A bad bargain today could mean hunger tomorrow. Sometimes the negotiation is tougher. A neighbor might try to undervalue your catch, knowing your need. Or perhaps your catch is meager, and you must accept a less favorable exchange to ensure your family eats. There's no minimum wage, no social safety net. Your success or failure in this marketplace directly translates to the health and well-being of your loved ones. You feel the pressure keenly, a dull throb behind your eyes. As the evening progresses, more people gather. The marketplace becomes a hub of activity, a social center where news is exchanged, gossip shared, and alliances forged. You see other fishermen, their faces etched with the same fatigue, their baskets holding varying degrees of success. You nod to them, a silent camaraderie passing between men who share the same struggles, the same reliance on the fickle moods of the Nile. You manage to trade a good portion of your fish, some for barley, some for a handful of dates, a few for a new clay pot for water storage. The joy of a successful exchange is a quiet one, a deep satisfaction that comes from knowing you've provided yet again. But there's always a calculation, a slight gnawing worry in the back of your mind. Is it enough? Will it last until the next catch? The abundance of modern supermarkets, where every item is readily available, bought with a standardized currency, is an unimaginable dream. Here, every transaction is a micro-struggle, a testament to resourcefulness and resilience. By the time the last rays of sunlight fade and the first stars begin to prick the deep blue canvas of the sky, your baskets are mostly empty. You gather your remaining few fish, perhaps keeping the smallest for your own family's stew or salting them for preservation. The ground beneath your feet is now cooler, but still retains the day's heat. The sounds of the market begin to subside as people drift back to their homes, carrying their day's acquisitions. You hoist your now lighter baskets, the weight still registering, but now with a sense of purpose. You walk back through the village, the path illuminated by the flickering light of hearth fires from open doorways. The air carries the enticing smells of cooking food, a symphony of simple ingredients being transformed into sustaining meals. You think of your own family waiting for you, eager to see what you've brought. The day's hard bargain is done. You have fought, negotiated, and provided. For tonight at least, your family will eat. And as you walk, you feel the familiar ache in your bones, a constant reminder of the relentless dance between effort and survival, a dance performed daily by the ancient Egyptian fishermen under the watchful gaze of the eternal Nile. You finally reach your home, the sun now fully set, leaving only the soft glow of twilight and the emerging stars to guide your way. The small mud brick dwelling, humble though it is, feels like a sanctuary after the long, grueling day on the river and the bargaining at the market. Your family is waiting, their eyes eager, their bodies restless with hunger. There's no casual evening greeting, no questions about your day. Their attention is immediately drawn to the baskets you carry. You gently set down the reed baskets, revealing the day's catch. The children, their faces thin and serious, peer in with a mixture of hope and anxiety. Your wife gives a quiet nod of approval, a silent acknowledgement of your success. Even a modest catch is a triumph against the constant threat of scarcity. This isn't just dinner. It's a tangible representation of your labor, their sustenance, and the fragile hope for another day. Then there are the more mundane, yet equally devastating, threats. Disease is a constant spectre. The very water that sustains you also carries parasites and bacteria. Bilharzia, caused by parasitic flatworms, is endemic, slowly debilitating, causing chronic pain and fatigue, weakening you over years of exposure. Open sores and cuts, inevitable from handling fish and navigating sharp reeds, fester easily in the hot, humid environment, leading to infections that, without modern medicine, can quickly turn deadly. There's no antiseptic, no antibiotics, no understanding of germ theory. A simple cut can become a life-threatening ordeal, leaving you feverish, incapacitated, unable to work, which means no food for your family. You push through the pain, ignore the infections as long as you can, knowing that even a day of rest is a luxury you cannot afford. Accidents are common. A slippery bank, a misstep on uneven ground, the sharp spine of a fish, a broken tool. Your hands are a mosaic of scars, your body a testament to countless minor injuries, each one a potential doorway for infection. You've seen men lose an eye from a snapping reed, break a leg falling from a bank, or suffer a debilitating wound from a misplaced spear. There's no doctor to rush to, no modern hospital. You rely on the simple poultices and herbal remedies of the village wise woman, or simply on your own body's resilience and the will of the gods. Recovery is slow, painful, and often incomplete, and the dangers aren't limited to the water. On dry land, life is also precarious. Banditry, though perhaps less common in settled agricultural areas, is a risk, especially if you venture far from your village to sell your catch. A well-placed ambush could strip you of your hard-earned fish, your tools, and leave you beaten or worse. The concept of a police force, a legal system that protects the common man, is rudimentary at best and far from your village. Then there are the authorities, the agents of the state, the tax collectors. While they don't pose a direct physical threat in the same way a crocodile does, their demands can be equally devastating. A portion of your catch, or its equivalent in grain, is owed to the pharaoh, to the temples, to the local nomarch. This isn't a fixed, transparent system. It's often arbitrary, subject to the whims of the local official. A bad year, a meager catch does not necessarily exempt you from your obligations. Failure to pay can lead to harsh penalties, beatings, confiscation of your remaining goods, forced labor. You learn to hide some of your catch, to appear poorer than you are, to haggle not just with buyers but with the very system that governs your life. The constant pressure to meet these demands, even as you struggle to feed your own family, is a heavy burden, a weight that presses down on your spirit. Even the simple act of existing under the scorching Egyptian sun is a challenge. Heatstroke is a constant threat, draining your energy, clouding your mind. The sun-baked earth radiates heat, turning the air into a shimmering furnace. Water, though abundant in the Nile, is not always safe to drink, and proper hydration is a constant battle. You often feel parched, your lips cracked, your body perpetually on the verge of dehydration. There's no sense of security, no safety net. Your life, your family's future, hangs by a thread, dependent on your skill, your strength, your luck, and the capricious moods of the gods and the river. Every day you return from the Nile whole and with a catch. It's a victory, a profound testament to your resilience. You carry these fears with you, a constant undercurrent to your daily grind. They sharpen your senses, deepen your resolve, and remind you with every sunrise just how precious and fragile your existence truly is. You are not just a fisherman, you are a survivor battling a world that is both giver and taker of life. Every single day, your life, and the life of every person in ancient Egypt, is inextricably tied to the annual inundation of the Nile, the Akit. This isn't just an event, it's the very pulse of your world, dictating the rhythms of planting, harvesting, and, crucially for you, fishing. You live by its ebb and flow, a cycle of abundance and scarcity that defines your existence far more profoundly than any calendar or king. You feel the first subtle shifts in the river long before the water visibly rises. There's a faint, almost imperceptible change in the air, a certain moisture, a scent carried on the breeze from the distant south. The river itself, usually a deep, clear blue, begins to take on a reddish tint, a sign that the distant rains in the Ethiopian highlands have begun to swell its tributaries, carrying nutrient-rich silt downstream. This is a moment of both anxious anticipation and profound gratitude. The flood is life. No flood means famine. As the weeks pass, the river begins its slow, majestic ascent. The water level rises steadily, creeping higher and higher up the banks. You watch it daily, a silent observer of this divine phenomenon. Your fishing spots transform. Areas that were once dry land or shallow reed beds are now submerged, creating vast, temporary lakes and marshes. The fishing changes dramatically. During the initial rise and peak of the flood, the fish, disoriented by the new expanse of water, are often dispersed, harder to find in the vast, newly created wetlands. The sheer volume of water makes net fishing more challenging, as the fish have more space to evade your snares. However, the flood also brings a different kind of bounty. As the water spreads, it carries with it an incredible amount of life. Tiny fish spawned in the calmer backwaters proliferate. When the water begins to recede, these fish are often trapped in smaller pools and channels, making them easier to catch. This period, after the peak of the flood, is known as the season of Pere, the emergence of the land, and for you, a season of more plentiful fishing as the river returns to its normal channels, concentrating its bounty. But the flood is not without its destructive power. You recall years when the inundation was too low, a terrifying prospect. The land remained unfertilized, the fields unwatered, leading to crop failures, and equally disastrously for you, a reduced population of fish. A low flood year is a year of hunger, of desperate rationing, of watching your children grow thinner. You remember the parched earth, the desperate prayers to Happy, the god of the Nile flood, for his benevolent return. The fear of famine is a deep-seated generational trauma, etched into the very fabric of your society. Conversely, a flood that is too high can be equally devastating. The surging waters can overwhelm your small village, sweeping away homes, destroying crops that might have been planted too close to the banks and carrying off livestock. You've seen entire stretches of riverbank erode, houses crumble into the torrent. During such years, simply staying safe is a struggle. Fishing becomes incredibly dangerous, the currents too strong, the risk of capsizing too great. You might spend days huddled with your family on higher ground, watching the destructive power of the river with a mixture of awe and terror, your livelihood temporarily suspended, your tools at risk of being swept away. The annual flood also resets the fishing landscape. Submerged trees and reeds decay, creating new habitats and food sources. New sandbanks form, old ones disappear. You must constantly adapt, learning the new contours of the river, discovering new prime locations for nets and spears. There's no static knowledge. The river is a dynamic entity, constantly reshaping itself, demanding your ceaseless attention and adaptability. During the height of the flood, when the fields are submerged, your role as a fisherman becomes even more critical. With agricultural work halted, the protein you provide from the river is an even more essential part of the diet for your village. You might venture out in your skiff to ferry supplies or people across the swollen waters, taking on other tasks to contribute to the community, always keeping an eye out for potential fish. As the flood waters finally recede, leaving behind a rich black layer of fertile silt, the true season of Shemu, the harvest for the farmers, begins. For you, this is another shift. The river returns to its more predictable flow, and fishing settles into a more routine pattern. The smaller pools left by the receding waters are a temporary bounty, teeming with trapped fish, easy pickings for a few weeks. But then, it's back to the steady, arduous work of finding fish in the main channels. The preservation of fish also follows these rhythms. During times of relative abundance, especially as the floodwaters recede and fish are more concentrated, you and your family work tirelessly to process and preserve as much as possible. Drying in the relentless sun, salting heavily with precious salt brought from the desert oases, these methods are vital for creating a surplus that can be stored for leaner times. You remember the smell of thousands of drying fish strung on lines or laid out on mats, a powerful, pervasive aroma that signals security, however temporary. The taste of this preserved fish, though often tough and intensely salty, is the taste of survival, of wisdom in the face of nature's caprice. Tonight, you have a few small fish remaining from the market, perhaps a larger one you intentionally held back, along with some barley and dates from your trades. The meal preparation is simple, born of necessity and millennia of practice. There's no refrigerator to store perishable goods. no elaborate cooking equipment. Everything is fresh, consumed quickly, or preserved with methods honed by generations. Your wife takes the fish. She doesn't have a chef's knife, no stainless steel implements. Instead, she uses a sharp flint or obsidian blade, honed to a remarkable edge, passed down through her family. With swift, expert movements, she scales and guts the fish. The sounds are primitive, the scraping of flint against scales, the tearing of flesh, the soft thud of discarded entrails. There's no squeamishness here. This is simply the reality of providing food. The smell of fresh fish, guts and all, fills the tiny dwelling, a potent, earthy aroma. The waste isn't truly waste. Some parts might be saved for bait, others for fertilizer for a small garden plot, if you're fortunate enough to have one. The fire you kindled this morning is still glowing, nursed carefully throughout the day. She places a few small sticks and dry dung onto the embers, coaxing a lively flame. A simple clay pot, blackened by countless meals, is placed over the fire. There's no stove, no oven, no microwave. Cooking is an ancient, elemental process, governed by the rhythm of the flame and the simple tools at hand. Some of the fish will be cooked directly over the embers, wrapped in wet papyrus leaves to prevent burning and to infuse them with a delicate, smoky flavor. This method is quick and efficient. You watch as the papyrus leaves sizzle and blacken, the steam escaping, carrying the delicious aroma of cooking fish. The crackle of the fire, the subtle hiss of the fish, are the sounds of your evening meal coming to life. For the barley, it will be boiled in the clay pot, perhaps mixed with a few dried herbs if you have any, to make a simple gruel. This is the bulk of your meal, the foundation of your family's diet. It's filling, nutritious, but utterly devoid of the rich flavors and variety you might find in a modern meal. There are no exotic spices, no complex sauces. Taste here is defined by freshness and sustenance. As the food cooks, the tantalizing smells fill the small hut, a powerful contrast to the hunger gnawing in your stomach. The children, usually boisterous, sit quietly, their eyes fixed on the cooking food, their hunger palpable. This is a moment of deep anticipation, a primal yearning for the warmth and comfort of a full belly. Finally, the meal is ready. There are no plates, no cutlery. You gather around the food, sitting on the reed mats on the floor. Your wife serves the fish directly from the fire, the pieces steaming hot, their flesh flaky and tender. The barley gruel is ladled into small, shallow bowls, also made of clay. You eat with your hands, scooping up the gruel, tearing at the fish. The first bite is always the best. The warm, salty taste of the fish, fresh from the river, is incredibly satisfying. You chew slowly, savoring each mouthful, acutely aware of its value. The barley, plain but nourishing, fills the emptiness in your stomach, a warm, comforting weight. There's no conversation about the day, no discussion of worries or plans. This is a moment of quiet consumption, a focused effort to appease the hunger that has been a constant companion since dawn. You observe your children, their small hands efficiently picking at the fish, their faces smeared with the evidence of their meal. There's a deep, protective love that swells in your chest, a profound sense of responsibility. Every fish you caught, every bargain you struck, was for them. Their sustenance is your purpose. The meal is eaten quickly. There's no lingering over dessert, no post-dinner tea. The food is consumed until it's gone, leaving only the memory of its taste and the fleeting sensation of a full stomach. Any leftover fish that can't be eaten immediately will be preserved. This might involve drying them in the sun, laying them out on mats, or salting them heavily. The intense sun of Egypt is an excellent natural preserver, but the process is time-consuming and labor-intensive, and the salted fish, while providing vital protein, is far less palatable than fresh. The pungent smell of drying fish would become another constant aroma around your home, a tangible representation of stored wealth. the scarcity is ever present, a silent guest at every meal. You rarely feel truly full, a sense of deep satisfaction that comes from abundance. Instead, it's a temporary reprieve from hunger, a brief pause before the gnawing sensation begins anew. The children are often sent to bed still slightly hungry, their bellies not quite distended, but adequate enough to allow for sleep. Contrast this with the modern world you know. The overflowing refrigerators, the vast choices at the supermarket, the ability to order food at any time delivered to your door. The casual waste, the forgotten leftovers, the endless variety of flavors and textures. For the ancient Egyptian fishermen, every crumb, every morsel is precious. Every meal is a victory, a testament to survival against the odds. There is no concept of eating out, no spontaneous decisions to grab a snack. Food is life, painstakingly acquired, carefully prepared, and reverently consumed. As the remnants of the meal are cleared away, and the fire begins to die down, a quiet exhaustion settles over you. The day's relentless effort, the physical strain, the mental vigilance have all culminated in this simple, essential act of feeding your family. You lie back on your reed mat, the coolness of the earth slowly seeping into your tired muscles. Your stomach, no longer aching with hunger, feels a temporary, fragile peace. The sounds of the night begin to assert themselves, the distant cries of nocturnal animals, the gentle murmur of the Nile as you drift towards sleep. You are already planning tomorrow's catch, already calculating the next day's struggle. The feast is over, but the cycle of sustenance and scarcity, the relentless rhythm of survival, will begin anew with the dawn. The Nile, the lifeblood of Egypt, is also a treacherous mistress. You know its beauty, its bounty, but also its immense, chilling dangers. As an ancient Egyptian fisherman, you walk a constant tightrope between sustenance and peril, your life precariously balanced on the edge of its unpredictable power. This isn't just about catching fish. It's about navigating a world teeming with threat, both natural and man-made, that could end your life or your family's livelihood in an instant. The most visceral, primal fear that stalks every moment on the water is the Nile crocodile. These ancient, silent predators are the undisputed kings of the river, perfectly adapted killing machines. You've seen them too many times. A pair of eyes barely breaking the surface, two dark bumps that could easily be mistaken for a floating log. The sudden, explosive thrash of water as one lunges for prey, a water bird, a gazelle drinking at the bank, or, God forbid, a fellow fisherman. The sheer speed and power are terrifying. There's no warning, no defense once they strike. You maintain constant vigilance, your eyes darting over every ripple, every shadow, every cluster of reeds. Every unexpected splash sends a jolt of ice through your veins. You learn to read the river, to sense their presence, an almost sixth sense honed by a lifetime of close calls. You've seen men dragged under, heard their panicked screams quickly silenced, leaving only the widening circles on the water. The memory is a cold knot in your stomach, a constant reminder of your own mortality. Equally fearsome, though less overtly predatory, are the hippopotamuses. These enormous beasts, seemingly docile as they graze along the riverbanks, are ferociously territorial and incredibly dangerous, especially mothers protecting their young. They can overturn a papyrus skiff with contemptuous ease, sending you sprawling into the water, where their massive jaws and powerful bodies can crush you in an instant. You learn to give them wide berth, to recognize their telltale snorts and grunts, to avoid their favored resting spots. Their sheer size and unpredictable temper instill a deep, healthy respect, a constant awareness that you are a small, vulnerable creature in their domain. Beyond the megafauna, the river itself holds dangers. Strong currents can snatch an unwary swimmer, dragging them downstream into rapids or whirlpools. Hidden sandbanks can ground your skiff, leaving you exposed and vulnerable. Sudden storms can whip up the water into dangerous waves, threatening to swamp your fragile papyrus boat. You know the river's moods intimately, sensing the change in the wind, the darkening sky, the shift in the water's flow. But even with all your knowledge, the Nile can be unpredictable, unforgiving. You've watched your skiff, your livelihood, get battered by an unexpected squall, spending precious hours bailing water, fighting to keep it afloat. Think about it. Every pyramid builder, every priest, every pharaoh, every market trader, every soldier, they all ate. And a significant portion of that sustenance, the vital protein that fueled their bodies, came from the river, brought to them by hands like yours. You represent the vast, unseen majority of ancient Egyptian society, the ordinary people whose grit and resilience formed the bedrock of an extraordinary civilization. You were not building tombs for eternity, but building life, day by difficult day. Your simplicity of life, the profound connection to nature, the reliance on raw skill and inherited wisdom, stands in stark contrast to your modern existence. You, listening now, are cushioned by technologies and conveniences that would be utterly unimaginable to the ancient fisherman. A flip of a switch brings light. A tap of a button brings food. A turn of a faucet brings clean water. You are insulated from the immediate, visceral struggle for survival that defined every moment of his life. The luxury of choice, of comfort, of security is a modern miracle. His world was a world without spare time in the way you understand it. Every moment not spent directly acquiring food was spent preparing for its acquisition, or preserving it, or maintaining the tools that made it possible. Leisure was rare, simple, perhaps a quiet evening sharing a story, listening to a reedy pipe, or simply observing the unparalleled beauty of the night sky. A sky unblemished by city lights. As you reflect on this man's life, feel the echoes of his struggle. The ache in your phantom muscles, the dryness in your phantom throat, the constant low hum of anxiety for the next meal. Let it ground you, connect you to a deeper, more elemental human experience. Appreciate the profound difference that millennia of progress have wrought. And perhaps, just perhaps, gain a new appreciation for the simple act of turning on your light, or opening your refrigerator, or taking a refreshing drink of clean water. The ancient Egyptian fisherman is gone, his name lost to the sands of time. But his spirit, his quiet resilience, his tireless dedication to his family and community lives on. It echoes in the enduring spirit of humanity, in the drive to provide, to survive, to adapt, to push forward against all odds. He fed an empire not with grand gestures, but with the consistent, back-breaking labor of his hands, fueled by a profound love for his kin and an intimate, dangerous dance with the eternal Nile. His story, though unwritten in hieroglyphs, is a fundamental truth of the human condition, a testament to the enduring power of the ordinary. And as the last embers of your imaginary fire fade to ash, and the river whispers its ancient secrets under the boundless Egyptian sky, you are left with the profound, humbling awareness of the forgotten men who truly built and fed an empire, one hard-won fish at a time,